back with Soul to Soul podcast today. You can see the setup's a little different. It's just because we're working on some new and exciting things. We are just practicing or trying to figure out the ways that we can do some more like pre-recorded or live readings for you guys, just to give you guys more of a taste of how our work as mediums works and to get a feel for us and the way that we read and if we resonate with you. Definitely looking into more like how we can do live readings and just setting all that up for the future. But today I think we wanted to have a little bit more of a grounded conversation and just really talking about like everyday lives and stuff that comes up for us, belief systems or things that we have that help us to work through our everyday lives, because I've been talking to a lot of people recently and I feel like, and I just heard someone else online talking about this as well during the summer months, especially because the summer solstice was just last week, that as much as it's the summer and we think we should be having fun and going out and enjoying the weather, because we don't always get this weather, especially in the Midwest, that, we feel like we should be doing certain things and we feel like we should be feeling certain ways. Whereas this also brings up energies of just like confusion, or like we don't know, like we feel out of place. We don't know what we should be doing because we think we should be doing something, but then like our energy is just totally mixed up or different because we're not used to this. We're out of our routine because the kids are out of school, or I have the weekends off, or I'm out of work because I was a teacher, or whatever, however your schedule is. I think it all ends up changing just a little bit for people during the summer. Even just like having your weekends booked out every weekend of the summer. I know my summer the weekends have already been booked, and I'm pretty sure I'm full through July too. So it's like there's so many more things going on and so many more things happening during the summer that I feel like it's so easy to feel definitely overwhelmed, a little bit like out of place, not really sure like how I should be feeling, or trying to force yourself to do certain things.
I was going to say like hard to be in the moment because there are so many parties and different gatherings, and you want to make everything, so then you're never fully present in maybe a party or whatever, because it's like, oh, I'm booked through July, through August, like you said, and it's just, so summer is kind of like and
I feel like
hard.
I get stuck too, like you were just saying, in that mindset a little bit, and I feel like I'm sure other people can relate, but getting overwhelmed with their schedule, and I feel like I am somebody who gets stuck in thinking about everything that I have to do and everything that I have to get done, because if I have a to-do list, I like things checked off and I like it gone and everything finished. So when I have things that I know, okay, I have to plan for this, I have to plan for this, I have to make time for this, I feel like I do get stuck in like, I just want it over with. I just want it off my to-do list. I just want it like, out of the way. And it pulls me out of the present moment, and I miss these opportunities with family or with friends or whatever it is. So if we can find time to just be more aware of ourselves, and number one, like reflect, like, oh, I am just going through the motions. I am just trying to get this out of the way. I'm not really being present. If you can notice that first, or you can notice where you're not being present first, I feel like it is the first step towards just figuring things out a little bit more and connecting with yourself a little bit more and feeling more connected to your environment and the people around you too, because this was all just coming up for me the more that I'm like talking about this and thinking about it, because I feel like I have been feeling a little like disconnected from like just the outside world, from things going on, from friends, family, relationships. And I just came up with my client earlier in the week as well, where she was saying like some of the same things. And I think the more that I talk about it and I slow down and I start to realize that It really just is, because I'm trying to just get
check
everything
off the list,
yeah,
rather than And what we were talking about, we were going to talk about is energy
yeah,
today and different things surrounding energy. And I think that a big thing is feeling. Like, how do you feel that you have 3 things booked this weekend or 3 parties? Like, maybe that's not where you want to be, but it's on your list because it's a have to. So there's all that too, like checking in with, what do I want to do this weekend? Or, you know, without offending the people that are inviting you to these parties
Yeah.
or these obligations. Or
But too, like, getting stuck in the feeling, because sometimes we can get stuck in, oh, I really don't want to do this, I really don't want to do this, and it almost like magnifies the feeling.
for sure.
Instead of just like allowing the feeling, acknowledging it, but also seeing like, well, I might not feel in the mood right now, but I know if I don't go, like, I'm going to be sad that I missed seeing everybody or whatever it is, like almost
And
playing.
compromising with yourself, because
Yeah.
maybe you can only go for an hour, which is something you've never, not you, but you know,
Yeah.
never done before. Maybe it's acknowledging the feeling, what you're saying, and then coming to a happy place within yourself, where a compromised place where you're like, okay, well, you know, my weekend's busy all weekend. This one party, I want to go, I want to see everyone, but I need time. So then just like, you know, I'll go for an hour, or I'll go to, you know, for a half a day, whatever it is, but honoring all the parts that are coming up for you about that party or gathering or whatever it is.
And I feel like that can only happen, which I'm starting to realize more, when we do slow down and tune into and just be conscious of ourselves and our thoughts and what's coming up for us and how we're feeling. But I was just having a conversation yesterday too about like certain emotions, because like I said, this time of year, our energies are all out of whack. We don't know what to do or what we should be doing. There's a lot of shoulds and have tos, and like you said, like, how do you honor yourself during this time? And I was just talking with a coworker of mine about just like when these heavier emotions come up during the summertime, and it's so much harder to work through them because of, well, it's so nice out, I should be outside, I should be enjoying this, and how sometimes when we can get stuck in that feeling of I shouldn't be feeling this way and something's wrong with me for feeling this way, it really does magnify those feelings, and it can make you stuck there that much longer, instead of seeing how we can really just surrender to how we're feeling and just allow the emotion to take its course and do whatever it needs to without this like judgment behind it. And I think that is the thing that I'm learning more and more, is it's just about letting go of the judgment that we have on ourselves, on situations, on emotions, on feelings. If we can just let go of the judgment and step more into this like observer mindset, and it kind of takes us out of it, and I feel like it's easier to get like clarity for the situation. It's easier to tune in with ourselves, to feel how we're actually feeling, and let go of everything, you know, that we don't need to hold on to regarding the situation or the emotion. And it does help us not feel stuck in whatever it is, the situation, the emotion, and it helps us to figure out ways that we can like move forward through it.
Yeah. And what I'm thinking when you say that, I'm like, yeah, judgment is huge. I think it's huge in all areas, all decisions, all everything. And what are some practical things you can do to put yourself in the moment, and to put yourself in the observer, or at least for that time being, so you're not judging, acknowledging the judging, and then stepping aside and saying, okay, I feel one thing would be honoring yourself in that moment once you recognize it. So here's the judgment. Okay, I hear you. And then observing, and then, okay, even if you do one small thing, like, what do I want to do in today? Like, yes, you're obligated and everything's all set up. You're going to a party you don't want to go, if it's a party. What can you do in that moment when it's all coming up? What are some things that...
But I think that really is the big thing, is like if we can just like find these moments in the day to just stop and reflect instead of continuing to go through the motions and do what needs to be
and
done.
check off the list. Yeah. So it's pausing. It's pausing throughout. It's funny. My counselor, that's his biggest advice whenever we talk, because I'm like, blah, 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 and I'm telling him everything. And he's like, let's pause. And there's so much in that pause, which is so true. And a lot of things I share with my clients as of late too, because I'm feeling the anxiousness that everyone's coming in with, and just everything that they're dealing with. And one thing that comes through a lot in a session, a Reiki session, is making up your own mantra, like and just simple things, simple little things like I'm doing great, or keep moving forward, or things that are coming up for you. I can do this, or peace. I welcome peace. Anything
like really
small,
just whatever you feel like you need to hear
in that moment.
If you can be vulnerable enough with yourself, I feel like that is such a really good idea. If you can be vulnerable and honest enough with yourself about how you're really feeling and what you're needing to hear, like if you took a moment to just slow down and think, like, what do I wish somebody would just tell me right now? Like, what do I wish I could hear from somebody? And then just be real and give it to yourself, because number one, knowing that like you're deserving of hearing that, and you are deserving of that, whatever that mantra is, of knowing that just because you are.
But that's kind of like how you rewire your brain, how you rewire the patterns, because I know when you're left on idle, your mind, there's a lot of things like, I got to do this, I got to do that, or whatever other negative, like that doesn't, I have to do this, is very anxious, is very like, oh my God, there's so much pressure on me now.
And
I have
feel like
to do this.
I live there.
I have to do this. So knowing that everything will get done in the right time. Yeah. Like if you just said that one day and said, you know what, I'm just going to keep that in the back of my thought. And every time, I've been doing it with little things like when I am overwhelmed, and I wake up and with racing thoughts already, and I just say like, thank you, angels, thank you, guides, thank you. And like I always go back to that one, because that one, it's gratitude. Yeah. And but when I say it, I say it so much throughout the day. Some days, it's just a mantra. It's just something I say. But then sometimes I pause and I feel into it, and I'm like, I do thank them. I feel better, because I've been saying this running line to myself all day, but not even really feeling into it. But so it's like reprogramming. That's what I'm saying. There's so much thoughts and so much that we have on idle that usually is not conducive to wanting to feel better or happier. So it's more worry or stress or fear. Yeah. So just coming up with little one-liners that, and like I said, you just say it, and you might not really, like for me, feel into it every time I'm saying it. But then when I take that time to pause, I'm like, I am grateful. Wow, I got through the whole day, and I do feel better. My energy feels better.
And that is so true, though. It's like that, like, fake it till you make it, like, type of thing, where it's like sometimes, it works. It doesn't really work, but it is like, it works when you stop and you pause in those moments. So if you can just get in the habit of saying
it's a new habit. It's a new pattern that you're because you're saying something anyways to yourself, and you're constantly rushing or checking off a list, or you're doing it anyway. So why not add in a little something that's beneficial, positive for yourself, and then within those pauses, you'll say, I think you can't help not to pause once you start saying it, because I always tell my clients, way back in the beginning of my journey, and I was working a lot with like Wayne Dyer and thoughts create, change your thoughts, change your life. Yeah. And constantly I had to listen to this stuff over and over. And I used to always say like, oh my God, what is wrong with me? And it's something so small, but like what you're saying, when I put myself in this observer role, all the stuff I was learning, I noticed that is something I said all day long to myself. Just like, thank you, angels, thank you, guides. I would say, what is wrong with me? And then once I started observing and pausing, I was like, no, what is right with me? And right away I would try to think, I'm a good mom. I go to work, or whatever it is I was thinking back then. And but I stopped saying it. Like, one day I woke up and noticed, like, oh my God, I don't even, to this day, I'd never say, what is wrong with me? Like, I don't even say that. So imagine how much other dialogue that we have running all the time. So again, like what you were saying, just putting ourselves in that observer role is huge. And that's going to take practice, just like any other practice, a yoga practice or anything else. It's working with your mental mind and your subconscious, and just observing, like, what do I say to myself?
I know, and I feel like you hear like spiritual teachers and like just people talk about all the time, like how your thoughts, I think Wayne Dyer said, change your thoughts, change your life, but also how your thoughts create your reality. And I feel like that's, for some people, that seems like such a like far out there idea.
It does.
But when you really like notice, like, if you're only focusing on, if you're thinking like, yeah, what's wrong with me, that's what you're going to think about. Like, you're going to only think about it and see the ways of what's wrong with you, and you're only going to focus on that, and those things that you focus on are magnetized, and then it can affect your next steps and how you're moving forward, or whether or not you're moving forward at all. And so if we can, like we're saying, just start like catching ourselves and just even tuning into, like, do I even agree with this thought anymore? It really does start like with our thoughts and our patterns, and a lot of it is patterns, and it's just like how I heard my mom talking to herself when I grew up, and how she heard her mom talking to herself when she grew up, or it's all of that stuff. It's stuff that has been either passed down or just unconsciously learned, that that's the stuff that we're saying to be conscious of, because it could be stuff that like you don't resonate with anymore, that actually doesn't feel good to you, or that doesn't serve you in any way, that you're ready to start changing. Something that's been coming up for me a lot lately is my thoughts surrounding like abundance and lack. I've just been reading this book called Rich as Fuck by Amanda Frances, but it's all about it's not about money, how to make money. It's about the energy behind money. And it's so much more than even just money. It's your thoughts and your patterns and your belief systems surrounding yourself and what you're deserving of and what you're worthy of. And
that's the video I saw you last night from Danny Morrell. Same thing, but it literally, it's the emotion. It's like, you don't have money because you don't make enough, or because like that's not why you don't have money. And we're always chasing that, like, oh, what else can I add on my plate, or how can I? And it's like, just sit in the emotion of I'm worthy of this. I align with it.
And that goes back to what we said we wanted to talk about today anyways, which was how everything is energy. And when you can have a basic understanding of the universe and the energetic universal laws about how energy works, you'll see that money, for example, is just an energy. It's an energy that's always being exchanged, that's always moving. It's literally always moving and changing and going to different people, different places. So, like, why not have that be you? Instead of seeing it as it's this, like, abundance is this thing that's so up here and you have to do so much to get to it, or work so hard.
I'm sure you've heard everybody says, like, money goes to money. Have you heard that
term? Yeah. You need money to make money.
Or money goes to money. Like some person who is not struggling financially walks into a casino and wins, or bets on a horse and wins, or in the football pool wins, always wins. This guy always wins. And so what's going on there?
It's literally the person's belief systems that they have.
They walk in
themselves.
like, I always win. I don't need the
money.
They
know it.
I have enough.
Exactly.
And they're aligned to it without even.
There's no resistance to it. Whereas if somebody who maybe is walking into a casino and doesn't have that much money, or this is the money that they were going to use to go pay their rent with. They have so much attached to this that there's so much energetic resistance and stuff put behind it that's going to not allow the money to flow anyways. But it's all belief systems with surrounding what you're deserving of. Something I was reading in my book, she was talking about, like, what are your energetic limits? Everybody has limits to what they allow and what they don't allow. Like, emotionally, with situations, with people, with money, is how she was saying it. But it's like, I know that I'm always going to have this amount of money in my bank account at all times, or whatever it is. So it's like changing your belief systems on what you have or your limits energetically, understanding your thought patterns surrounding not necessarily abundance, it's more yourself. Like, what are you deserving of? Because that has been coming up for me a lot relative to just my life. I've been realizing that I have these belief systems surrounding work that I need to be exhausted at the end of the day, and my schedule needs to be full, and I need to work hard. If I want to make money, I have to work hard. And I'm realizing more and more, not just reading this book, but more stepping into, well, that's not the life that I want to live. And I know there's people out there that make money in their sleep, like, and I know it's possible and it's a thing. And it's like, what do I want? Do I want to work hard to make money? If I do, that's fine. It's just like figuring out what do I align with and connecting to that, and then like figuring out ways then to move forward with what I align with. And for me right now, that is seeing my truth and seeing my worth in the work that I do.
We talk a lot about like our Reiki sessions, for example. Like I come out of there like feeling like high energy. Like I feel like, oh my God, and they're heavy sessions. Like I've been having some heavy sessions lately, and I walk out feeling like, oh, and you could be exhausted, and you'd be like, no, we already, both of us, we align to like 4 people are our max in a day, because we do take it very serious and sacred, and that's fine. But within that 4, I could still feel energized, and whether it's a belief of yours or not, like, you know, you're exhausted, or me, as far as the energy. But I feel there's something I was going to say about that, but I forgot. For you, what do you feel surrounding, like, are you exhausted because of that, or is it everything else that you're doing because you know your worth in those sessions? You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have 2 sessions and they're heavy, but you know your worth in those sessions. Like, is it that, or is it something else?
No, I think it is. I think when I stop and pause, like, after a session, I don't feel as drained or exhausted as sometimes my mind tells me that I do.
That's what we've talked about, and I've seen, and I know you've been, you know, you say it, but I think it's just the part of not pausing and whatever. And if it's not, it's not. It's just funny how we feel that differently, but also, or not that we feel it differently, we are in different places in that, I don't want to say lesson, but observing ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is, like, how we're talking about money and aligning to just different energy, things like that. Like, again, bringing it down to the simplest form. That's why I'm glad we started out with that, is the mantra, the observing, the just, because that could get so overwhelming. Like, we think of, like, well, that's all I have to do is just align to the energy, or to, and then it's like, it kind of puts it into the woo-woo category, because it's like, oh, okay, whatever they're talking about. That's why it's these little, it's the little things that, like, create movement and consistency.
I almost want to, like, backtrack a little to really help people understand
That's what I was saying.
like energy and the way the universe works. So like I was saying, money is an energy. It's always being exchanged. It's always moving. Everything is energy, and energy is always flowing. It's always moving. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed into something different. And when we can start looking at this world from an energetic standpoint, I feel like it will help it'll help you understand things better. And I think that's like, we can talk about even the law of attraction. If you're trying to create something or you're trying to get something that you want, the law of attraction is just about how everything is energy, how everything is connected, and how if you want something, I've taught this in a class before a few months ago, that if you want something or you're trying to create this thing in your life, like a new car, everybody uses that example. So you're saying, I want this new car, I want this new car, I want this new car.
I want.
You're in your head, but it's also like, take a moment to notice the energy surrounding that and the words that you're using and replaying in your head. The word want implies lack. It implies you want it. It's out of reach. You don't already have it. And that's why like manifesting or the law of attraction doesn't work for so many people. It's not because it doesn't work. It's because they don't totally understand how energy works. And so if you can let go of that, like that want, because like I said, want implies lack. And if you just focus on, you already have that thing, or it's seeing how it's already on its way to you. They tell you like visualization is the number one biggest thing. I know Joe Dispenza teaches it in every one of his meditations. It's the number one thing to help you align with the life that you're trying to create for yourself, because when you visualize, especially in meditation, you're putting yourself in that moment, in that energy. You're creating that energy, that excitement, those feelings.
And that's what I was going to say, feelings. Yeah. Like, that's why gratitude, it all kind of goes hand in hand, because when, if I want a new car. I don't know what word you use, but if I want a new car, like, and the feeling, like they tell you to pretend you're, sitting in that car, feel it, smell the leather, all this stuff. Well, not just that, but like there's other things in your life that you have. So what about that new car? Oh, it's new, it's this. So then you think of other things in your life that you have already that are new. Like it might not be a car, or abundant in. So you could tune into that feeling. So it's the feeling that you have to find, like, that's why there's always something we could be grateful for. We might not be grateful that we're living, we don't feel we're living our abundant life, but there's something we're all abundant somewhere.
But going off of that, it's not just like, oh, what can you be grateful for? It's also seeing and changing your perspective of how is this serving me to get me to where I want to be. So for example, I've been looking more into like moving out and getting my own place, and I have been, but really. And then at the same time with like my work and my job, I've also been wanting to go full time with my business, and I've been wanting to let go of my other little like part-time job that I do mentally. But since I've been, working on just new things that I wanted to create and new expansions, before I had so much resistance to this part-time job. I didn't want to do it. It was draining me so much, but when I was able to stop and change my mindset surrounding it, I was able to see, well, actually, this is serving me to get me to where I need to be. It's helping me have enough abundance or a knowledge or whatever it is to get me to where I want to go. It's not bad. Like, it's not as draining anymore, because there is I see the purpose behind it. And so if we can start to change just our perspective on certain areas,
figuring out what you want, I would assume would be
so
the first
like
thing. So like,
one.
I want to move out. So figuring out, is that really what is that your goal? And then doing just looking at your life, observing, and then lining things up that feel right for you in the direction of your goal. Yeah.
And seeing how maybe, the things that maybe you don't want to be doing, but are really helping you to get you to where you want to go. I really, it surprised me how much I stopped being so drained or exhausted from, that job, because it was just my mindset. I'm still doing the same amount of work. I'm still working the same amount of days. But my mindset surrounding like walking into the door when I first start the shift, like it's all changed in just the slightest way of now all of a sudden this is serving me a purpose, and it's so much easier. And so just seeing that, but say we'll go back to the new car, like I really hate this job, I want to be doing something else, blah blah blah, but I really want this new car. So just everything I just said, if you can see, well, this job is getting me to what I want to create, or what I want to get this new car, so it'll make it that much easier. And people do it with, like, if you're in school right now and you don't resonate with school, but you really want to help people and become like a counselor or a therapist or a doctor, but you're really struggling with getting through school right now. If you can just remember why you're doing what you're doing in the first place, it will really help kind of like remotivate you to create the life that you want. And that's the other thing, going back to the law of attraction. And like, say you're trying to manifest a new car, people also think like that's where it gets a little woo-woo too, because they think, oh, I'm just gonna like say I feel this, I want it, and it's just gonna like appear in front of me, because that's not how it works. That's the last step, is the action step with the law of attraction, is when you think something and then you spend time feeling it and you live it in your mind. When you get out of that meditation or that visualization practice, you're going to be like 10 times more likely to then take those next steps, these action steps, to help you to really create that. And so that's really what it is taking the action, the little steps that you can to get you closer to what you're wanting, while simultaneously trusting the energy of it and trusting that it's on its way to you, and knowing that you're deserving of it. And then doing what you can. It's like you do what you can, but then you also surrender to the parts that you can't control, like the how. I don't know how this car is going to show up, or I don't know when it's going to show up. I'm not going to put a time limit or a time frame on it, but I know that it's going to, it's going to show up in my life. Like, this is what I want. This is what I'm deserving of. And then doing the steps, like picking up extra shifts, if that's what you feel pulled to do.
I was just going to say, like, when you were talking about the school thing, because I went back to go consider going to school years ago, like 6 years ago. And everything felt good. I had a vision. I was like, counselor, because I was going to add that in. I figured I could do spiritual work and Reiki all wrapped up. So I was going, and everything logically fit. And by the time I was 44, I was going to have my degree, all these things. Like, I felt like, and then I went there, and the feeling, like, so things didn't line up. So, I think there's also paying attention to all that. So not like sacrificing. There has to be, it has to feel good too. You know what I mean? Like your part-time job. You found a way where it's not draining, but because there's something in there serving you, or that you're still, I don't know, getting out of it type of thing, rather than saying, well, I have to do this until whatever time because I'm moving out and this will start. Well, but there has to be other things that light you up about it.
Yeah. But I think, like, for me, it was just the change of mindset. Like I said, I'm still doing the same job, still, working the same amount of days. I just started seeing how this situation is serving me. And it's a good question that you can ask yourself when you're going through something. Sometimes it's a hard question to ask yourself when you're going through harder situations or things that you don't want to do. But if you can find a way to choose to see how a situation is serving you and your expansion as a soul here, then it'll make it that much easier to help you move through that situation. For sure. But so going back to like the law of attraction and energy, no, because it's such a funny thing that people think like, but that's why I wanted to talk about this today. I started in the beginning of the podcast saying that I want to have a very grounded conversation. I want to talk about how all of this stuff relates to our day-to-day lives, because this stuff is, when you understand it on another level, it is very, very real, and it really does help you to create the life that you want to create. You just have to really understand it. Like, people forget the whole action step part of the law of attraction, and it's just about, like, it's not just about giving it all up. There's a balance of trusting the energy of the universe and trusting that you're deserving of what you want, but there's still that action step that people don't realize of, okay, but how can I do my part in this and to move forward to get to what I want.
Yeah, that's reminding me of something personal in my life, that just that, like, you know, with faith and trust, you could put it there too. Like, a lot of people, it's like, have faith and trust and let go, and then think you don't have to do anything to change your current situation, or you don't have to look within and shift certain things. You can't just like give it to God or give it to universe, and your life's gonna change. But some people do, and you know, they're not exactly. I think it's having them question faith a lot, because then they're not seeing things, or they're you know, they're like, well, I have all this faith and I'm giving it to God, and but then the action part, that I think it could be lost in many different areas of work, faith.
And I think it's just about like finding the balance between it, because then like I could feel like I'm on the other end of the spectrum where I don't give, well, I have a hard time giving trust to anything outside of myself. And so I'm very like, if I want this, then I have to make it happen for myself. And so I have to do it, and I have to figure out a plan, and I have to get it done. And if we can like find that middle ground of trusting and surrendering and knowing we're deserving of it, but also taking the steps to move forward, but surrendering to the things that we can't control or the situations that come up. I think I made a video about this a couple weeks ago, but balance really is like a big lesson for this lifetime, I feel like, because when we can find that middle ground and let go of the extremes of any situation, it really does bring this sense of like peace in any area, for sure. But
I'm just so grateful that we are sitting here talking, because this is something I've wanted to do for at least 5 years. I am camera shy, and I'm kind of like the, what do they say? Brains behind the project. I'm always like, and I don't mean it like that, but I always like plant these seeds, and I'm constantly talking. You can't shut me up for like as long as, you know, since 2010, about all of these concepts and stuff. And it's just beautiful to see that, how you're stepping out and up.
But that's what's funny, is because we sit down every time and we don't know what we're going to talk about, and it really just comes to us in the moment, and we just kind of give it up and see what happens. But it is the conversations always seem to flow. So,
which is something that you just talked about. You have a hard time, and I think I brought that up before we started today. I'm like, I love like being sometimes I love being on the you know, just wing it, or just show up and we'll see. And you want to know what we're doing and whatever. And that's why it's just, I'm grateful. And it's so beautiful to watch, because you're practicing what you're preaching, you know, like it could be challenging at moments, and you're just seeing things unfold and flow. And yeah, it's beautiful. I'm grateful.
Well, thank you guys for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Yes.